Hello guys, welcome back to my channel Elite Wrestling World. I am your host GhostSaad. Thank you guys for joining me right here for AEW Dynamite Spring Breakthrough post show review. This is the fallout for Dynasty pay-per-view this Sunday. We are getting MJF versus Darby Allin for the AEW World Championship tonight, and also Kevin Knight will defend his newly won TNT title against Claudio. And Kamille is back on AEW television, and she will be challenging Willow Nightingale for the TBS title. So let's get dive into it and talk about that. So we started off with Renee outside the arena as a car pulls up and AEW World Champion MJF steps out. MJF kept cutting Renee off so he can run down the list of opponents that he has beaten in this current reign and how he kicked out of the one-winged angel. Renee was about to tell him some info when Don Callis walks in to wish him the best of luck tonight, apologizing for the whole Andrade thing. MJF didn't know Andrade lost at the pay-per-view, saying he was too busy preparing for the main event of Dynasty. MJF said Callis owes him a favor and he still loves him, but tell Andrade he's not championship material. Renee screams at MJF that Darby Allin is challenging him tonight, right now actually. MJF yelled, "What the fuck?" And we go right to the ring for Allen's entrance. Excalibur is joined by Bryan Danielson and Tony Schiavone, and they talk about Allen's hometown crowd as they are chanting Allen's name loudly. MJF stormed to the ring uh, in his suit to tell the little emo freak he is as stupid as he looks, and if he thinks MJF is wrestling for the title tonight, he is a fool. Perhaps the fan are too brain dead to understand how much money MJF has. If he doesn't want something to happen, it won't happen. So he will sue everyone, including referee, the leader pervert, Justin Roberts, even Tony Khan, and anyone who chooses to live in the dumpster fire that is Washington. So MJF said he is doing Allen a favor, saying he is good, not great, not championship material. With love and respect, Allen isn't ready for to be the world champion. Then Allen ripped the mic away and said all it takes is one night to drop the wrestling world on his head. If he is not ready now, he will never be. And he's killed himself for this company. He taped posters around the city of this show. He hung the AEW flag on top of Mount Rushmore for this company. And he took a deep breath his first day of school, saying he'll either succeed or fail as Darby Allin. So MJF said they are not ringing the bell, but Danielson stood up and said he just got a message from Tony Khan saying he actually agrees with MJF that it's unfair to wrestle when he is unprepared. That's why Khan will give him plenty of time to prepare, as this will happen in the main event of Dynamite. So Allen spun MJF around and screamed he's beating MJF's ass with a headlock takeover. Allen leapt out of the ring, slammed himself into the railings before going to the break. So it's official. It's gonna happen on Dynamite main event MJF versus Darby Allin for the AEW World Championship. I thought this was an excellent segment to start off Dynamite, and the main event is set for tonight Dynamite. So we saw Tony caught up with Kenny Omega after the main event of Dynasty, as Omega said he's got nothing and apologizes. The camera goes into the trainer's room where Ospreay is still being worked on, as Omega asks if he's doing okay. Ospreay said no, but welcome to the club. Omega said this isn't how he pictured it for either of them, as he feels like he let everyone down. So Ospreay said they have still got this. He's been crying the last 40 minutes, but his dream is still being the AEW World Championship and hopes Omega hasn't given up on it. Either he knows Omega can do it. So maybe I can't give up. Maybe there's still a chance. So I think that was an excellent segment between Omega and Ospreay. It's gonna be interesting to see both for both these guys where they go from here, and I think so interesting story coming forward between these two. Next up is Tommaso Ciampa versus Desmond Xavier of the Rascals. While Xavier had his hope spot, this was a quite dominant showing for Ciampa and a good way to get him over as a potential threat for the World Championship as well. Ciampa rushed Xavier at the bell, attacking in the ring and briefly outside before heading back in. The crowd tries to start bold chants on Ciampa. Ciampa wasn't having it. Ciampa gained control back inside with a kitchen sink and kept Xavier grounded. We saw frog splash hits for a very close to count by Xavier. Ciampa caught him with a pump knee in midair, and then he connects the Project Ciampa, destroys Xavier, and Ciampa lowers the knee pad and took Xavier head off with the running knee and gets the pinfall victory. Post match, Ciampa took the mic saying this was an example. He's sick of waiting. He wants it all of the gold. If he's not making himself clear, Darby Allin, MJF, whoever wins, the Psycho Killer is coming for the World Championship. And Ciampa punt kicks Xavier in the ribs for good measure before ripping up fans signed ringside. So again, Ciampa is going after the world title as well, and it's gonna be a fantastic. Next up, we saw FTR coming out talking about their dynasty victory. Dax Harwood said he's heard the chatter online. It seems that FTR winning again has made everyone angry, and he gets that the fan loves an underdog story because they feel like they can relate to that. Uh, Speaking of losers, they gave Adam Copeland and Christian Cage a brush with relevancy, and they couldn't get the job done. As long as FTR are tag champions, they will never get a shot at the titles again. And they know the story of David versus Goliath, FTR are Goliath, while there's a lot of Milli Vanilla in the backline, Brody, King and Bandido, Bang Bang Gang, Cop and Cage, and every time David steps up to Goliath, they get bitched out. So Stokely knows that Tony Khan will sign every tag team in the division, but they will all fall to the giants known as FTR. And Cash Wheeler said that was beautifully said and would like to pay homage to Red Riding us all from Copeland and Cage, and calls for a moment of silence for those of who with flash photography they are giving that fans a 10-second pause. Stockley lays out an after pauses with the title flipping the fans off, saying Seattle has been great. So again, it's gonna be interesting to see whether FTR will defend against Cope and Cage again, or whether we see a triple threat between FTR, Cope and Cage, and the Young Bucks. Next up is Kevin Knight versus Claudio for the TNT title. Just a damn good power versus speed showdown, and this was an excellent first challenger for Knight to start his reign. It definitely sounds like in the post-match promo that we are setting up possible competitors for Owen Hart tournament, and that's starting soon. Ciampa and Kevin Knight calling their shots would certainly indicate it as well. For the match, we saw Claudio charge at the bell, but Knight was ready with multiple pin attempts. Quickly back in, Claudio flattened Knight before takeoff with a lariat and boots. We saw "Let's go Jet" chants by the crowd. Knight used his speed to thwart the power, got a few more pin attempts before leaping over Claudio into a lariat. Claudio caught him in the mid-air, and avalanche neutralizer connected by Claudio. Only Knight fought off just at the near fall. Giant swing is dished out as Claudio wanted a sharpshooter. Knight fought it out, dodged a catapult in the corner for a leaping lariat, quickly up top, and hit the UFO splash for the win. Post match, we saw Knight put over Claudio. The Jet is looking good as the TNT champion, and Dynasty was very good for the Jet, but also Speedball is still beating himself up for the loss. Kevin Knight said he will be keeping a close eye on the main event, and it's gonna be nice to sound Jet 2 belts, Jet 2 flag. So again, he is also coming after the world title as well. We saw Renee interviewing Jericho in the ring. Jericho was met with a loud ovation from Washington crowd as Renee asked how it feels to be back. Jericho said it was one of his favorite performances at Dynasty. We saw the demand music hits immediately, and Ricochet tells the fan to sit down and shut up. Ricochet respects Jericho, especially after his valiant effort at Dynasty, but he didn't listen. So the opportunity presented itself for Ricochet to take Jericho out with his own move, which is now the Ricosalt. That was cute. Jericho runs down all the reincarnations of Jericho, but says to make this new one the one who stays home after getting his ass kicked by the demand, and it could be the best run of his career. And Ricochet hits the ring and gets his ass kicked quickly, calling for Khan and Leona, who rush down to the ring, and it's gonna be a 3-1 attack. 3-on-1 attack on Jericho, and Gates of Agony laid out Jericho, and Rico Salt is hit yet again by the demand to stand tall. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens between these two, Jericho and Ricochet. After Dynasty on Sunday, Renee asked Don Callis and Kazuchika Okada what happened out there when Takeshita walked by, saying it was an accident, mockingly saying, "I'm sorry." Okada had to be held back by Callis as Takeshita walked away smiling. So this tension is brewing between Okada and Takeshita, and it's gonna be interesting to see whether the match happens at Double or Nothing. Next up is Will Ospreay versus Hichisaro. I was initially worried that Ospreay was going to get away for a while after the match on Sunday, but he is here to compete. Hichisaro turned it on, and I was very happy and enjoyed the match between these two. Ospreay was heavily wincing, taking off his entrance robe as Brian talks about how he could be an incredibly bad idea to wrestle this soon after the match at Dynasty. Ospreay managed to fire off a snap hurricane runner that sent Hichisaro outside as Ospreay met him with a slingshot across the body. Marina Shafir is shown watching in the front row as the series of standing switches led to Hichisaro hitting a spinning hammerlock backbreaker. Cheeky Nandos tried a reverse slam but Hichisaro into a roll-up for a 2 count. We saw Oscutter blocked by Hichisaro, rolled Ospreay into a cross arm breaker into a triangle choke. Ospreay powered up into a Styles Clash and then hit a hidden blade for the pinfall victory. Post-match, we saw Ospreay stare down Callis and Lance Archer when he was attacked by Mark Davis, who squashed Ospreay and stood tall over him. And we later get the information that it's gonna be Ospreay versus Mark Davis next week on Dynamite. Next up, we saw the World Women's Champion interrupted Renee and came out to crow about defending the title against Jamie Hatter at Dynasty. That brought out Alex Windsor and they had a verbal exchange that led to a match being announced for Collision. One funny moment was Windsor saying Thekla was stupid enough to get fired from Japan, which Thekla denied before quickly admitting she did, which got a laugh out of the fans. So a match is set up between Thekla and Alex Windsor for the World Women's Championship at Collision, and it's gonna be interesting to see what challenger come up for Thekla at Double or Nothing. Next up is Willow Nightingale versus Kamille for the TBS Championship. This was not a very long match, and Nightingale continued her run of defeating returning wrestlers, and this was no different. Kamille looked fine in this match, but let's see what happens next for her. And Willow wins the match by backslide counter for a pinfall victory. So that was a flash pin, and we might get Kamille challenging for the TBS title maybe for the second time as well. Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida were backstage shown mocking Willow, with Statlander looking slightly embarrassed and also weird. Shida said they had so much fun last week tagging up, so on Collision they're gonna tag again, and I think so they are trying to build up a team between these two ladies, and let's see what happens next. Next up, we saw Darby Allin was preparing to walk out the ring for the world title match. Renee was asking him a question, and we saw Sting walked up, fully painted up. Allin asked him for some advice, and then Allin said, "It's showtime," and Sting quickly replied, "No, it's not showtime. It's your time." And it does feel like Allin is going to win this thing tonight, or maybe not. Next up is MJF defending the world title against Darby Allin. Well, I guess not. This was a super quick match. In a quick sequence, MJF used his Dynamite Diamond ring as Aubrey was distracted. Allin then hit his own blow as she was distracted again. Hit a Scorpion Death Drop and then 4 coffin drops and a side headlock takeover for the pinfall victory. And Darby Allin wins the World Championship in a shocking manner on Dynamite Spring Breakthrough. The locker room spilled out to celebrate, including Sting, and they did the whole celebration. This was a great moment for Darby Allin winning the world title in his hometown. Although I thought giving Darby Allin world championship on a Dynamite is a bit strange, but I think so they did it for a shock moment, and I certainly believe that he will be dropping it to MJF at Double or Nothing. and it's gonna be interesting story to follow in the coming weeks, and the build towards Double or Nothing is gonna be a fantastic one to watch out. But I think so it was a great moment for Darby Allin and Sting by his side, celebrating his world title victory. So again, a very good moment for Darby Allin, and he's now the new AEW World Championship. So that's the end of the show, folks. Please guys, like and share this video, subscribe to my channel, and keep watching Elite Wrestling World.